So, everyone else, they're talking about Atraxa. We already did Atraxa last year. So this year, I'll keep it going. We got Edric Spymaster of Trest. So we're going for blue deck this time. Edric spymaster of Trest is he's an elf rogue, 3 cost, 2/2. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may draw a card. And yeah, that's politics for you. That's exactly how you curry favor. Your opponent doesn't attack you, but if they attack your opponent, they get mana, they get draw power, they get creature removal, they get all types of cards. Like they might draw Terastodon, and he's one of the stronger 9/9s for 8 mana. He's been out before for quite a long time. These cards might be a bit older. Here I have a Praetor's Council. Return all cards from your graveyard to your hand, exile Praetor's Council. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. Now, I don't have to go over every card. I can just say, well, this card is recursion. You get all your cards back at the end. Here's creature removal, simple cards, simple useful effects. For X, and X is how many cards it's going to target. It's going to turn them into a 2/2 green boar creature token for your opponents to not be able to deal with. Washout is another good card, giving you all creature color permanents. Return all permanents of the color of your choice to the owner's hand. Very nice, very useful. You can make them all green pigs. If the opponent overruns, you can wash out. Well, I guess washout's a sorcery, but you get the idea. Because now we have cultivate. Cultivate, everyone knows. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal those cards, put one to the battlefield tapped and the other to your hand, then shuffle your library. So basically, for 3 mana, you get 2 cards, draw power. Put one to the field already in play. And if you haven't played a land for your turn, you could play that land. Here we have Stolen Identity. For your creatures to encourage attacking, you get more creature tokens. So for 6, sorcery, put a token onto the battlefield as a copy of target artifact or creature, then Cipher. Cipher is, then you may exile the spell card encoded on a creature you control. Whenever that creature deals combat damage to a player, its controller may cast a copy of that encoded card without paying its mana cost. Just put it on Cedric, who cares? Put this on a card that's going to get through. It's going to keep making more creatures, more tokens. Here we have Whisper Silk, a way to get those cards to deal damage. Obviously, you need to use Stolen Identity first, and then equip it with Whisper Silk. But, 2 cost, unblockable, but encoded doesn't say target, so, you might be able to rule finagle that. Here we have Isochron Scepter. Imprint. Isochron Center comes into play. You may remove an instant card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your hand from the game. You may copy the imprinted mana cost card for 2 mana. Play a copy without paying its mana cost. Just, start spell slinging for 2 mana. And here we have the titular Soul Ring. That'll help you pay for that 2 mana generic with Isochron Scepter. Bident of Thassa being one of the cards that increases the attacking. Legendary Artifact Enchantment, 4 mana. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. For 2 and tap it, creatures your opponents control attack this turn if able. Forcing the tides of the opponent to attack you with their 2/2 pigs, possibly. Here we have a Proteus Staff for 3. Pay 3 and one of those 3 being a blue. Tap it. Put target creature on the bottom of its owner's library. That creature's controller reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals a creature card. That player puts that card into play and the rest of the bottom of his or her library in any order. Plays ability only time you can play a sorcery. At sorcery speed, you can polymorph one of your or opponent's creatures. Very, very cool. Here we have Coastal Piracy, a very old 8th edition version of deal damage, draw power. it's been outpaced by all sorts of cards, so whenever your creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. But still, one of the cards that'll help you draw power when Eldrazi Conscription for 8, enchant creature, and tribal enchantment Eldrazi Aura. Enchanted creature gets +10/+10, has trample and annihilator 2. Very good, very nice. One of the finishing cards, really. Once you know you're going to win the game, you want to start annihilating the best cards, because now we have Dismiss into Dream. Enchantment for 7, pretty pricey, but we just saw an Eldrazi Conscription for 8. Each creature your opponent controls is an illusion in addition to its other types, and has, when this creature becomes the target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. So even the Proteus Staff can now become a kill card, because sacrifice the supersedes the destroying and not destroying, but putting to the bottom of the deck. Does it? Possibly. When it becomes targeted, probably supersedes it. Here we have Krufix, God of the Horizon, one of the best God cards because he's indestructible, but as long as your devotion to 7 of blue and green, he's not a creature, so he just sits there as an enchantment. You have no maximum hand size, and if unused mana would be emptied from your mana pool, that mana becomes colorless instead, letting you just keep having mana ready. Because Confiscate is very expensive. 6 mana, you steal a card. But in Edric, Spymaster of Trest, it's kind of expected. Obviously, there are people who are like, nah, don't take any of my cards. Fuck that. Fuck that. There's tons of cards like that. There's Praetor's Grasp that lets you touch the opponent's deck. Future Sight. Play with the top card of your library revealed. I'm going to play the top card of your library. These kinds of cards are fucking stupid, but you play them for the advantage back in the day. Vernal Bloom was great advantage, so if you have this on the top of your deck, whenever a forest is tapped for mana, its controller adds green to her mana pool. You're most likely going to have forests. You're going to be tapping this for 2 mana. The opponents might not hurt you. If you got Vernal Bloom, they might hurt you more if they don't have any forests. But here we have Exploration. You may play an additional land on each of your turns. Very simple. 1 mana. Burgeoning of its time. Favor of the Overbeing for 2 mana, one of it being hybrid. Enchant creature aura. As long as the enchanted creature is green, it gets +1/+1 in vigilance until as long as the enchanted creature is blue, it has +1/+1 in flying. So it has vigilance, flying. You'll have vigilance and flying. Protective Bubble. People say it's no good. I say it's an enchantment version of Whisper Silk Cloak. Enchanted creature has unblockable and shroud. So whatever you want not to get hurt, it's not going to get hurt. Here we have Volition Reigns. Once again, for 6, enchant permanent. When Volition Reigns enters the battlefield, if enchanted permanent was tapped, untap it. You control enchanted permanent. Very, very nice. Very strong. 3 blue, but worth it because you want what they have. We have Windstorm, which deals X damage to each creature with flying. One of the quintessential old deal X damage to a certain creature. We don't want any flying creatures getting over our head. Whiplash Trap being one of those combo cards. Your opponent is summoning way too many creatures in one turn. You know they're going to summon something really good right after something else. For 1 blue, you can pay its effect to activate the trap. It's an instant. So for 5 or for 1 blue, if an opponent had 2 or more creatures enter the battlefield under his or her control this turn, you may pay 1 blue rather than pay Whiplash Trap's mana cost. Return 2 target creatures to their owner's hand. Good old replacement, because we can counterspell a card we really, really don't like. Obviously, it doesn't feel the best when you pay 3 to get rid of 2 cards, but useful to get rid of 2 cards for 1 card. Scattering Stroke being a mana card, because you can counter target spell, clash with an opponent. If you win, at the beginning of your next main phase, you may add X mana to your mana pool, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. 4 mana, expensive, getting you 8 mana back, much better. So you can play Relic Crush. Relic Crush. Destroy target artifact or enchantment and up to one other artifact or enchantment for 5 instant speed. 5 mana, you know they're going to play some sort of Matrix card. You need to get rid of 2 cards at once. Beast Within, also another targeted removal. Destroy target permanent. Its controller puts a 3/3 beast creature token onto the battlefield. Kind of giving the opponents more value for beasts, but we don't care. Here we have